Rob Dew here with Infowars.com, and right now on the Alex Jones Show, Ron Paul is paying us a visit via Skype from his studio in Victoria. But this is the big news, and it's on Drudge Report. And Drudge rarely writes articles, but here it is. ABC News orders strict rules on first White House interview. Basically, they are claiming ownership of Trump and Trump's likeness and Trump's message to the people. They have some insane rules here. Excerpts of no more than 3 minutes. And material can no longer be used after February 1st.
That's the key thing.
That is big. That is big. So we can never go back and reference this ever again because ABC is going to own Trump's likeness because their cameras somehow have magical powers that can detect when you're using this footage. David Knight, what's your analysis on this?
Well, Rob, what they're doing is they're lawyering up and they're trying to exert a monopoly on information. And as I point out in the 1 minute that we put up, remember that part of TPP was to expand the copyright laws and to say that they're going to retain ownership of everything forever and everybody's going to have to pay them for each and every use. That was a key part of TPP. It wasn't simply about trade. It was about a lot of free speech issues involved as well as the trade issues. Now, Trump shut that down. Trump needs to shut this down as well. Because what these people are doing is they're taking ownership of the president's message. The president is a public person. It is political. Under copyright laws, fair use says that if you're doing commentary, and that would be showing this so that we can have commentary on it, they say that is protected use under fair use. ABC knows that. This is a blatant grab for money. It's a blatant grab for political power. They want to spin his message for political purposes. Remember, it was ABC 4 years ago when Obama was running through Obamacare. It was ABC that went to the White House and broadcast for an entire week from the White House, putting forward this narrative that Obamacare was going to be affordable and that he was doing something that absolutely had to happen. The Republican Party said, wait a minute, we want some equal access. And they said, no, we're not going to give that to you. And then the Republican Party said, all right, we'll pay for ads because you're broadcasting, giving all this free airspace to the president and everything. It's like, no, we're not going to even sell you ads to counter this information. Now what they're doing is saying we're going to embargo this, and they put all kinds of legal tripwires in here, saying you got to have a mandatory on-screen credit aired during the entire excerpt, okay? And you have to introduce
audio,
it. Yeah, you got to introduce it. Every one of these excerpts have to be introduced with an audio credit. If you embed it on the web, you have to use only their embed code. And if your affiliates pick this up, so when our radio stations are picking it up or whatever, if they put that in there, they have to be careful that they don't do anything that if it's a
like
visual,
put their bug on it.
If they put their bug on it, we're not allowed to put our bug on it. Only ABC's bug. If any affiliates put their bugs on there, now you've got something that they say they're going to sue you for. So they're lawyering up to shut down freedom of speech.
That is the big thing, though. Material can no longer be used after February 1st.
That's the biggest.
So whatever kind of traps they try to set him in, we can never come back and say, look, y'all set a trap for him back here on January 25th, which is tonight. This is going to air at 10 p.m. Eastern on ABC News. And they're really, this is a blatant violation of fair use. You can't show what the president said now.
That's right.
ABC's literally trying to take ownership of Trump.
And that's been the case all along. They've tried, as I pointed out, with TPP. They want to claim ownership. This is what the strategy of the globalists and multinational corporations is. They want to claim ownership of these things and do it forever. And when we go back and look just 9 days ago at what was going on, remember the big kerfuffle that was the press corps after Donald Trump and Sean Spicer, the press secretary, said, we're going to open this up to radio, to talk radio. We're going to open it up to bloggers and so forth. We're going to widen freedom of speech.
Right.
And the establishment screamed bloody murder. You had these people
They tried to
who have
spin
a trade.
it. Yeah, they tried to spin it, David, saying that, what they're doing is putting people in there that are Trump fans.
That's right.
Because they're going to hold up pictures of Putin on a horse, because they did that in Russia. Like, if they had Putin on a horse, they got the question. That's a bunch of BS. People want to be in
It was the BBC that put Putin on a horse with Trump as part of their quote-unquote documentary where they said the Kremlin candidate. But this is what they said, and this is The Guardian reporting this 9 days ago. They said, 49 permanent seats for major media organizations. See, they have their little monopoly, and they want it to be permanent. And they say this space is doled out by the White House Correspondents Association, WHCA. This, folks, is nothing but a trade guild. a monopoly. This is the old-fashioned way they used to do it in Europe. They would say, well, we got the horse carriage guild, and so nobody can build horse carriages without our special permission.
The stamp on it.
It's kind of like a union, except it's for the business itself. And you got this quote from Jeff Mason, who's the president. He says, I made it clear that the WHC would view it as unacceptable if the incoming administration sought to move the White House reporters out of the press workspace behind the press briefing room. In other words, they don't want him to enlarge access. They have their special 49 seats, and this is
because they want to keep the fake news narrative going.
That's right. This was reported by The Guardian, and The Guardian says, oh, by the way, we're one of those people.
Yeah.
And they're very favorable to that. And so they put this out that Donald Trump is attacking freedom of the press when it's actually these people who are attacking freedom of the press, who are attacking free speech, who are trying to copyright political speech, who are trying to restrict access to it, who are trying to ban its future use. That's really what's going on here, folks. And it is a combination of economic and political control. Let's call it what it is. Fascism by definition. That is what this is. This is the fascist press. Maybe we should stop calling them the mainstream media and just call them the fascist press because they operate on crony capitalism.
Yeah, and if I was Trump, I would come out right now and say, ABC, you better rescind these rules or I'm not doing the interview, which will cause a whole big maelstrom going on. And then all he has to do is get on Twitter and say, look, my message is for the people. It's not for ABC News.
That's right.
It's not for the American Broadcasting Corporation.
Well, it's key that Donald Trump is using Twitter because he said, that's the way that I can speak directly to the people. But you have to understand, speaking to Donald Trump, you cannot allow the mainstream media to establish this precedent of saying we own anything that the president says. This is a very dangerous thing and that they're establishing.
And this is, I would say this is a direct reaction to what we do, because we get on, we play these things live, we comment on them. We definitely work within the boundaries of fair use. We're usually commentating, we're talking about it, we're talking over the feed a lot to some people's dismay. But it's in order to stop things like this. And now, strict rules on first White House interview, right there, ABC News. So we'll see if this will happen. Maybe enough people will speak out about it. Maybe Trump will say, I'm not going to be part of it, and get out of my house. But we'll see.
That's right. Well, let me add one more thing before you go to Orrin, and I'll get off here. But as you pointed out, Rob, that's one of the things that people got upset about when we were covering the debates. And of course, we had to do that, and we wanted to do that because we wanted to give you our immediate, firsthand impression of what was going on. It was commentary, and that was protected under fair use. It should be protected under fair use. They're trying to shut that type of thing down, and that's the key thing. Trump cannot allow this to be established as a precedent.
This is a case that could go all the way to the Supreme Court if somebody fights this.
That's right.
And that's exactly right. If they're trying to set a precedent right now, Trump needs to reverse that and set a new precedent and scold ABC publicly and cancel the interview. That will then set a precedent for any and other news organizations that want to try to pull this same shenanigans to try to claim a monopoly over Trump's speech when he does these interviews. They will be shut down immediately. So just like they're trying to claim a precedent, I think Trump should claim a precedent and say, okay, fine, you don't get the interview, and guess what? I'm now going to scold you in public. So that's how I think he can set a precedent here.
I agree. ABC, you do not own the president's message, and we will fight you on this. This has been Rob Dew reporting, David Knight reporting, and Owen Schroyer reporting for Infowars.com.